Howdy everybody, it's Andy Nolch here with another KR, and this one is a review of the Dianetics How to Use DVD. This is a great DVD. I love it. It's one of the best things I've ever bought. I don't regret it at all. It's actually what got me interested and keen on Scientology, really. What this is this was probably made like around 2007 or something like that. But it's a DVD of the book Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health. And that book was a hit when it got released in 1950, and it's what basically started the Scientology religion. But I imagine people in the Church of Scientology worked this out, and anyone with common sense could see this. Probably around the year 2000, they were noticing that people weren't really reading, and they couldn't really read, and people, I guess, weren't getting into the Dianetics book. Oh, by the way, I'll just quickly say, if you can't be stuffed listening to my explanation of this review, I give it like 5 stars, and I definitely recommend you to get it. But now I'm going to talk, okay? I just want to say that because sometimes when you watch the review vids, you just want a quick answer like within the first minute. So there's a quick answer. This will change your life. I remember when I was I watched this and I liked it, and I got into Scientology, and about 6 months later I looked at a sign that was near the Scientology church, and it said Dianetics, and it said, "Can a book change your life?" And I looked at it and I was like, wow, that billboard's so correct, because that sign's like really correct. Like it really did change my life, because we're so used to seeing like billboards and ads saying this is amazing and all these bullshit things and advertising and PR and all this stuff, and a lot of the time it's just wrong. It's like not really true when they say like this is the best thing ever. It's not really the best thing ever. But with this DVD, I was just like, wow, this was actually a time. This is where I felt like I went onto like a magical journey, into magical journey land, like when my life became like an adventure, because it was like, wow, I'm really living like a movie. This is just amazing. And I think a lot of people experience it when they get into Scientology. Like it's like suddenly their life becomes a movie, because it's like before that it's just everything's boring, and then after it you're like, wow, it's just like this is like a sci-fi movie or something. My life, it's just really interesting. Anyway, that's basically because I think the truth about life is that it's like a giant sci-fi movie, like an amazingly complex sci-fi movie and stuff. But when you're just trapped working and you're not really open to what's going on, and you're not aware of what's going on, you think your life is boring, and then you watch a sci-fi movie and you're like, wow, that's a really cool movie. Wow, that's a really cool life or whatever. But that's just fiction or whatever. But you don't realize that your life can be like that as well. Anyway, so this DVD, I bought it from the church, and when it was sold to me, the person said, watch this and it'll improve you, because I did a personality test and the results weren't that very good, which I knew about. Like, as in, I knew I wasn't in a good shape. I did an OCA test. I thought it was fantastic, these OCA tests. They're genius as well. So I was actually really impressed by the result of the test, because I was like, that is exactly how I feel. What a brilliant test. How the hell did it know that? Because it asked such odd questions. But I had to defend that, because the Scientology haters just go on and say, oh, the tests are bullshit and don't work, and they just talk so much crap, like people like Chris Shelton. They just tell lies. Anyway, so they said get this book or whatever, and I saw the DVD and I was like, I'm gonna get the DVD, because I don't want to have to read, I don't have to read. To read a book, it takes 50 hours, but to watch a DVD, it's 3 hours. I mean, it's so much easier. Anyway, so I got the DVD, and I remember I said to them, I don't think this is going to work or anything, but, I'll give it a go. It's unlikely to work, because I was assuming it'll be like everything else, where someone says, try this, and it doesn't really work, or do that, and it just doesn't really work. And so I watched this DVD, and straight away I liked it and I found it interesting and I learnt and I was like, oh yeah, that says stuff about things about the mind that I always thought, and I was like, yeah, that's how I thought how things worked, and yeah, that's like it just educated me. It was like much better than a whole year's worth of school. Like, I mean, you just don't, school's so crap. Anyway, so it's just like, wow, this is really making me smarter or whatever. I was like, this is really interesting, you know, I'm really actually learning and I'm brighter. And I think after that, I did another personality test, and the results had improved, which makes total sense, again, because it was like, I had improved because, like, things made sense. This makes sense, you know, because you can be confused about life, like, oh, what's going on, and I don't really know, but, you know, someone can come along and say good advice about something like, oh, blah, 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 and then you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense, and then life's a lot easier. See, the reason why life might be hard is because you're dumb. You just don't know anything. Like no offense, but it's true. Like, I used to be so dumb, and until you start educating yourself and reading stuff and listening to stuff like this, and just becoming a sponge and working out what's going on in life, life's hard. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, how can I put it this way? If you don't learn how to change a tire on a car, life's going to be hard for you if you have a flat tire, right? So imagine if you were going along in life and you didn't bother trying to learn things. So you didn't know how to fix a tire when it was flat. You didn't know how your mind works. You didn't know how to use this little app thing. You didn't know how to do that because you just was like, you're walking along going, oh, I can't be stuffed learning that, and you just didn't bother, right? Well, you would go along in life and you would just fail and you'd run into all these problems and you would go, fuck, life is hard, life is shit. But that's just because you just don't know anything. So if you start going with the attitude of like, I'm going to learn as much as possible, I'm going to look up words in a dictionary, I'm going to ask questions, you know, I'm going to find out about my mind, I'm going to learn how to change a tyre of the car. You have this attitude of just learning as much as possible, right? It might seem hard because at the start it's slow and there's so many things that you don't know. But eventually things get a lot easier. It's a lot smoother. It's easier to do your taxes. It's easier to do this and easier to do that because you're learning. That's what school should basically be. But because the school system's crappy, it graduates people that are walking around like a zombie. Like, oh, I don't know anything about life. Like literally, like they don't look like that, but that's what I was like. I graduated school and I was just like, I'd gotten like top marks and I was just like, gosh, I worked really hard for that and I feel crap now. Like, that actually made me depressed working so hard at school. And because I wasn't actually learning good information, right, I was dumb. So I was, I wasn't succeeding in life. Like, I didn't know how to change a tire. I didn't know how to do my taxes. I didn't know how to do all these things you need to do in life. So you go out there in life and you have a hard time and you go, oh, my life's crap, whatever. Anyway, so you have to start learning. And this is a major thing. This teaches you how your mind works. It's very, very good, right? And so, anyway, so the people who made this DVD, there was a Dianetics book, and because people can't read that well because the school system barely teaches people how to read, like, seriously, I'm not joking, like, go try and read some fancy university documents. You can't read it unless you're like a really switched on person who's already a sire who's listening to these videos. But if I can show you some formal stuff, some fancy like university writings, and you won't really be able to understand it. And it's because you haven't been taught how to read, haven't been taught how to study by the school system. Those are sorts of things the school should be teaching, but they don't. But Scientology does teach these things, like how to read and stuff, like read complex things. Obviously you can read like Mary had a little lamb and like a street sign or something like that, but you can't read like legal documents or like just hard things, right? Anyway, so there's a whole generation that's just like into drinking beer and watching TV and stuff and not into reading. So in the 50s when the Dianetics book came out, it was a success because people were into reading and people can read it. But around the year 2000, it's like you got a whole different generation who can't really read, and so the Dianetics book wasn't so much of a hit. You know what I mean? and Scientologists want to promote Scientology. So what they did is they came up with a DVD that was like really simple and shows visuals and explains the Dianetics thing. And this is great, and this is fantastic, right? And I loved it. I was just like, whoa, it's about 4 hours long, and I got it, and I started watching it, and I watched it all within like 2 days or something. Like, so I watched it 2 hours, and the next day 2 hours. So I really liked it. It wasn't like I just watched it and like a week later watched it again. It was like, I was like, whoa, this is really good info, you know? So I don't know what else I want to say. I mean, to me, this is actually, to be honest, this isn't even 5 stars. This is out of the range of being rated. This goes into the category, and I've done this a few times in my reviews. This goes into the category of being a must watch. It's like you don't even give it a star rating. You're like, it's out of the ratings. It's just like, you watch this. You know what I mean? Like, that's how serious this is. That's how good this information is in this. You know what I mean? Like, someone might say, oh, how was that movie? And let's say it was a really, really good movie. So you go, that was 5 stars, right? But what if the movie was just incredible and life-changing and something that everyone really had to watch? You wouldn't say 5 stars. You'll go, it's beyond 5 stars. You must watch it. Like, it's not questionable. It's not... like, you have no option. I'm telling you, you have to. I'm being serious with you right now. Right? You have to get your hands on this DVD and watch it. I am serious. It is that good. You have to watch it. Okay? It's like... Alright, imagine you're dying from cancer right now and I'm holding up the cure. Right? And I'm holding the cure to cancer. And you're saying, oh, should I take this cure? And it's like, you must take this cure, okay? Well, this is a similar situation, right? This explains how your mind works. It teaches you how to fix it up, basically. You understand things and stuff. And it's like, you must do it. Otherwise, you're going to be walking around like with a messed up mind. Kind of like walking around dying from cancer. Like, this straightens you out. Like, this is fantastic. It just puts you on... It just changes your whole outlook of life from here on out. And it's genius. And it's just like... I remember getting angry when I watched this DVD. Then I read the book after that. And it was good because I could understand the book after I watched the DVD. Because it was, you know... Like, I could make sense of it because I watched the DVD. And I remember being angry. I was like, why didn't I come across this earlier in my life? Why isn't this taught in schools? Why isn't this just everywhere? Like, I was actually pretty pissed off because I was like, this is just basic information. It's kind of like, do you know how, like, with hygiene, chefs obviously have to wash their food and wash their hands before they cook, right? Otherwise, we'll get diseases getting spread around. Well, imagine if you were living in a society where no one knew about washing their hands and washing food, and then everyone was sick, and no one knew it was because no one was washing their hands or washing the fruit, right? You'd be like, you know, and someone had come along and written a book saying, hey, you got to wash that fruit, you got to wash your hands before you cook things, right? That's just life-changing. It's epic, and it changed the whole world because people stopped dying from diseases and all this sorts of stuff. And it's something that's so obvious once you know it. But when you're walking around not washing your hands, it's not that obvious. It's like, oh, okay, blah, blah. But anyway, this is what this is like, but for the mind. It's like so obvious, basic, straightforward information about the mind that you need to know. But people just don't know it. And they're suffering because they don't know it. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. So it's a thorough step-by-step. It's 2 CDs. It's about 4 hours or maybe 4.5 hours in total. It's got all this information like chapters and stuff. And it teaches you how to do the Dianetics technique. Which is good. I mean, sorry, I actually really just like the information more than anything in this. Like, because this says how you do the Dianetics technique to get yourself clear. And that's great. Obviously, you go in there, you get it, and you get rid of like painful memories out of your mind and stuff. So you're a new person, and you're fantastic and stuff. But I mean, just the information in this, just watching this without even actually going out and doing the auditing, it's a huge, life-changing thing. It's amazing. I mean, because it just suddenly everything just makes sense, and it's got a little how to use booklet in it. Which explains Dianetics words and all these sorts of things. And it doesn't really mention anything about Scientology because this was released the whole Dianetics thing was released in 1950, and that was before Scientology was invented. Scientology came around more like in 1953 when it became less about the mind and like this self-help technique and more into like a religion and like a philosophy and a way of life and more spiritual information. So this, I mean, I shouldn't even say anything more, okay? But, this, I think you can find it for free, almost the whole thing for free on YouTube. So search it on YouTube, okay? I mean, I would recommend buying it because you want to have your own copy and you want to be able to give it to people who need it. You want to try and get as many people to watch this as you can. It is, it's fantastic, and I really am happy with the people who made it. The film part of the church. I'm not even a church member. I didn't even like the church, but the film part of the church who made it, I really respect them, and they've done a really good job. So I just want to say thank you to them. But it's incredible. And this changes people's opinions of Scientology because there's so much negative media out there. But if you actually go, hey, sit down and actually find out what Scientology is. Like this is one part of Scientology where you learn about the mind. It's Dianetics, right? You actually sit down and you get to watch it. Do you know what they start saying? And I've had numerous people say this to me. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, oh, now I get Scientology. Oh, yeah, that seems all right. Yeah, that seems good. Like, they actually have an understanding. Oh, that's why Andy's a Scientologist because he wants to do this technique and this thingo, and that's what they believe in. They want to improve the mind, and now I get how it works. And whereas before they're just so brainwashed by the negative information about Scientology in the media that they just think Scientology is this crazy cult. But then they watch this and they're like, wow, it's actually really smart. It leaves a good impression of Scientology on people, which is fantastic. Which is good. There is one element in this that people can't handle because in this you go over memories, but in it you go over memories of when you were in your mother's womb, which is like before you were the age of 1, right? And some people are skeptics and some people can't handle that. And I couldn't handle it when I watched it for the first time as well. I was like, hold on a second, I like everything in this DVD, but I just don't think I can remember being in my mother's womb. And I don't even think, can anyone even remember that? And it was just like, that's really pushing it. But I was like, but who knows? And now I've looked into it and looked into past lives and other things. And I believe people can remember some things from those times. But it's a matter of, you have to work on your mind, and it can take years. Some people, it can come to them like that. Some people don't even need to do this and they can access their past life memories and stuff. But, it's just something you got to work at. And anyway, it's just genius. It's just genius. Like, there's some Scientologists who, because they've done this and they've done other Scientology stuff, and that they really switched on to, it's like they're really improved. When they've died, they've reincarnated and come back, because that's what happens. You get reincarnated, you get born again, and they would walk into a Scientology church. I'm not kidding. This has happened numerous times, right? And they've said, "Hey, I was blah 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 in my past life, and I would like to continue doing my Scientology courses and stuff." And then they'll look up the person's folder, and then they'll give information and they'll verify it, and they'll find out that, yeah, that person was that other person in their past life. And it's just amazing. Where else do you get that? Do they teach you that at university? No. Where else do you find out who you were in your past life? It's just incredible. It is just incredible. But I heard about this sort of, like I heard in India, for example, some kid would, and this is nothing to do with Scientology, but it was India, which is more spiritual and stuff. But there was apparently some kid who said he was someone else in his past life, and he managed to prove that, literally he proved it in a court case somehow, that he was this other person, and he managed to get his property back, what he owned in his previous lifetime. Just incredible, you know. This really is the truth, you know. It's amazing. You can start finding out who you were in your past life, and you can start improving, and your IQ can shoot up, and you can become a lot more happy. And there are parts of your mind that are bad, and you have bad energy in you, and that's why you might have problems, and you can get rid of that. You can get rid of that stuff, and you can become a lot smarter, a lot more switched on, a lot happier. You can remember your past lives. You can die, and then when you're born again, you'll remember your past life, and you won't be screwed over. Because imagine, what if you're born into as like a slave in a factory in China? I mean, that would be pretty crazy. But here's the thing as well. Apparently you can improve as well, to the point where you know which body you're going to go into when you reincarnate. You can choose the body. This is how deep it is. I hear these stories time and time again from Scientologists. This is the real deal. This is actually going on. Life really is amazing. We've had the truth hidden from us. We've been told that we don't have past lives. We've been told that our IQ can't go up, which is just a lie. This shoots your IQ up. A lot of people think they can't cure their mental health problems, like their anxiety or depression or something like that. This can do that. This can help people with PTSD. It's amazing what this can do. Anyway, I think that's it. So get this DVD. You're going to love it. It's the best thing ever. This, hopefully we can, I'm working to try and get this for the whole of humankind. Like, as in everyone can get this. And this is a normal thing for people to know about, because people can really live a much greater life, a much better life, you know. And there are people who want to commit suicide and stuff like that, and it's useless. Like, they shouldn't bother doing that. You know what I mean? There's something they can do about their issues. You can get rid of them with Dianetics. So thanks for watching. I've been Andy Dolch, the Space Cowboy, and until next time, get up that bridge.